Imagine this. It's a gray afternoon in the Emerald City, the kind where the rain doesn't just fall, it lingers, soaking into your coat, your shoes, your thoughts. You're hurrying along Pike Street, dodging puddles that reflect the neon glow of coffee shop signs, the air thick with the scent of wet evergreens and fresh espresso from a corner roastery. You've just come from a meeting where everything went right, praise from the team, a nod from the higher-ups, but as you step onto the light rail, staring out at the blurred lights of the Space Needle, that familiar ache settles in your chest, the one that whispers, "Is this it?" Have you ever climbed a ladder you thought would lead to joy, only to find the rungs hollow beneath your feet? What if the dreams you've chased, the promotions, the relationships, the endless to-do lists have left you feeling more unseen than celebrated? And deeper still, what would your life look like if you woke each morning not questioning your value, but simply knowing in the quiet core of your being that you are enough, just as you are, rain or shine? Friends, this is the quiet storm many of us navigate, the pull between what we've built and the emptiness it sometimes leaves behind. Today we're stepping into a story that uncovers a path through that fog. A story of one woman, much like you or me, who learns to quiet the doubts and step into her light. Her name was Doris. At 35, Doris had the kind of life that looked steady from the outside. Cozy apartment in Capitol Hill with views of the bustling farmers market on weekends. A steady job in marketing for a tech firm downtown, where the open plan offices hummed with the clack of Canaref keyboards and the hiss of the always-on espresso machine. Seattle suited her in ways she couldn't quite name, the perpetual drizzle that mirrored her introspective moods, the ferry rides across the Sound that offered moments of solitude amid the ferry's gentle rock, the way the city lights twinkled like distant stars on foggy evenings. But beneath it all, Doris felt adrift, like a leaf caught in the Puyallup River's current moving. Yes, but without direction. It hadn't always been this way. Growing up in the suburbs of Tacoma, Doris was the peacemaker, the one who smoothed over family dinners with a smile and a well-timed joke, even when her own heart twisted with unspoken fears. "You're so capable, Doris," her mom would say, her voice warm over the phone from their old split-level home, the one with the creaky porch swing, where Doris used to dream aloud about adventures beyond the evergreens. But capable wasn't the same as cherished. In college at the University of Washington, she majored in communications, picturing herself as a voice for stories that mattered, maybe even opening a little cafe someday, a haven of warm mugs and handwritten notes, where people could linger over scones baked with lavender from the Pike Place stalls and share the weight of their days. That dream flickered now, dimmed by years in the corporate grind. Mornings started with the alarm's insistent buzz at 6:15, followed by a rushed oat milk latte from the corner cart, its steam curling into the chill air as she boarded the light rail at Westlake Station. The ride downtown was her ritual of bracing earbuds in, playlist of indie folk to drown out the inner chatter. You're not creative enough, not bold enough. What if you fail and prove everyone right? By 9 a.m., she'd be at her desk, surrounded by screens glowing with ad campaigns for apps she'd never use, her ideas shrinking under the fluorescent hum. Her boss, Mr. Hargrove, sharp-suited man in his 50s with a perpetual coffee stain on his tie-mat well, but his feedback landed like rain on parched soil. Too much, too little, never quite right. "Solid work, Doris, but push harder," he'd say in their one-on-ones, his office overlooking Elliott Bay, where gulls wheeled against the slate sky. She'd nod, swallowing the lump in her throat, and retreat to the break room, where steam from the microwave fogged the window. There, she'd text her best friend Taylor, a barista at a hip spot in Fremont, with tattoos of ferns snaking up her arms. "Another day in the salt mine," Doris would type, adding a rain cloud emoji. Taylor's replies were lifelines. "Girl, life's too short for bad bosses. When are you launching that cafe? The world needs more cozy corners like you." But even Taylor's encouragement couldn't quiet the evenings. Alone in her apartment, where the rain tapped insistently on the fire escape like unanswered questions, Doris would curl up on her thrift store couch, a blanket draped over her knees, scrolling through Instagram feeds of influencers in sun-drenched kitchens, their lives polished and purposeful. Her sister, Elena, called from Portland every Sunday illness, voice bright, with tales of her thriving graphic design, freelance gigs, her 2 kids' latest antics. "You're killing it up there, sis," Elena would say, but Doris heard the subtext. "Why aren't you?" The conversations ended with hugs over the line, but Doris hung up feeling smaller, the steam from her chamomile tea rising like unshed tears. One Saturday in early fall, when the leaves on the cherry blossoms turned a defiant red against the gray, Doris needed air. The weight of another stalled. Project at work her. Pitch for a community-focused. Campaign shot down without ceremony had. Her wandering the wet streets of Pioneer Square. The air smelled of salt from the waterfront and the faint, yeasty warmth of breweries firing up for the weekend. She ducked into Elliott Bay Book Company, that beloved haven with its towering shelves and the creak of wooden floors underfoot, the scent of aged paper mingling with the espresso from their in-house cafe. It was a place Doris had always loved but rarely visited, anymore too easy to get lost in the possibilities it stirred. She meandered the aisles, fingers trailing spines worn soft by countless hands, until a cover caught her eye in the self-growth section, a simple, inviting design promising a life unburdened by doubt. She flipped it open, the pages crisp under her touch, and sank into a worn armchair by the window, where rain traced lazy paths down the glass. The words pulled her in like a warm hearth stories of quiet revolutions, not thunderous triumphs. Hours slipped by, the bookstore's soft jazz weaving through the hush of turning pages. By closing time with the sky deepening to indigo, Doris bought the book, tucking it under her arm like a secret ally. Back home, she brewed a pot of loose-leaf Earl Grey, the bergamot scent filling her small kitchen, and began to read under the glow of a single lamp. That night, as thunder rumbled distant over the Olympics, something shifted, tiny crack in the armor of her self-doubt. Welcome to Book Navigator, friends. Before we dive deeper into Doris's journey and the wisdom that reshaped it, if this story resonates with your own quiet longings, please subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon. We'll bring you new summaries, insights, and stories every week, gentle companions on your path to clarity and growth. The book that sparked Doris's transformation is worthy. How to Believe You Are Enough and Transform Your Life by Jamie Kern Lima, a heartfelt guide drawn from her own path of building a beauty empire while learning to embrace her innate value. Now let's walk with Doris as she uncovers the truths that set her free. As Doris turned those first pages, the book's gentle guidance illuminated a simple yet profound truth. True fulfillment in life isn't just about stacking up wins or chasing the next milestone. It's like a quiet equation where your confidence in your skills, your steady growth, and the ways you give back to others all multiply together, but only if they're rooted in a deep, uncheckable belief that you are worthy just as you are. Without that foundation, even the grandest achievements can feel like echoes in an empty room. For Doris, this hit home on a crisp Tuesday morning, 2 weeks into her reading. She'd just landed a promotion team lead on a major client pitch announced, in a team huddle where the office's exposed brick walls seemed to close in under the weight of clapping hands and Hargrove's booming, "Well done." The light rail ride home that evening, was triumphant at first. She texted Taylor, "Big news. Drinks on me at your spot?" Taylor's reply lit up her screen. "Hell yes. Proud of you, Dor. Cafe fun just got a boost." But as the train rattled past the glowing ferries on the Sound, the high faded. Doris stared at her reflection in the window, distorted by passing lights, and the old voice crept in. "This doesn't change who you are. You're still that girl from Tacoma pretending." That night, curled on her couch, with the book open on her lap, a mug of cinnamon-spiced cocoa, warming her hands at steam, carrying hints of autumn leaves, she lingered on the idea. The author shared stories of high flyers who'd built empires only to wake up hollow, their confidence a fragile scaffold without the bedrock of worth. Doris closed her eyes, the rain a soft percussion outside, and let the question settle. What if my value isn't earned through titles or applause? What if it's woven into me, like the threads of fog over the bay? She pulled out a worn journal from her knitstand, its pages filled with half-formed cafe sketches, cozy nooks with mismatched mugs, a chalkboard menu scrawled with soul-warming lattes, and began to write. Not lists of accomplishments, but whispers of worth. I am enough to dream big. I deserve joy in the small moments, like the first sip of morning coffee. The ripple came slowly, like dawn creeping over the Cascades. At work the next day, during a brainstorming session in the glass-walled conference room overlooking the bustling market, Doris pitched an idea she'd shelved for months, infusing the campaign with local stories, real voices from Seattle's immigrant communities. Her voice trembled at first, hands fidgeting, with a pen that smelled faintly of the pine air freshener in her bag. Hargrove leaned back, brow furrowed, but Riley, her colleague, a lanky guy with a beard like driftwood and a knack for doodling on napkins, nodded from across the table. "That's gold, Doris, makes it human." The room buzzed, and for the first time Doris didn't brace for dismissal. She met Hargrove's gaze, feeling the quiet anchor of her worth. "This idea matters because I do." It landed, sparking a wave of tweaks that turned the pitch into something alive, vibrant. But the real test came over coffee with Taylor that weekend. They met at Taylor's Cafe in Fremont, the air thick with the roast of Ethiopian beans and the hum of a vinyl record, spinning Nora Jones. Taylor, wiping down the counter with a rag that smelled of lemon polish, slid over a lavender latte topped with foam art of a blooming flower. "Spill on the promo, boss lady." Doris sipped, the floral warmth blooming on her tongue, and shared not just the win, but the hollow aftertaste. "It's like I keep building, but inside it feels temporary." Taylor paused, her green eyes steady over the steam. "That's the trap, Dor. Chasing enough when you're already whole." Doris pulled out her journal, reading aloud one line. "My worth multiplies every step I take, not because I earn it, but because it's mine." Taylor grinned, raising her mug. "To worthy women who finally see it." As they laughed into the afternoon light, filtering through the cafe's potted ferns, Doris felt a spark the cafe dream no longer a distant shore, but a path she could walk with steady feet. This foundation of worth didn't erase the doubts overnight. Growth rarely does. But it shifted Doris's gaze from scrambling for external nods to nurturing the quiet belief that her presence alone was a gift. She started small rituals. Mornings now included a moment by her apartment window, watching the light rail snake through the waking city, affirming silently, "I am here, and that's enough." At work, she volunteered for a mentorship program, guiding a new hire through her first pitch, her words carrying a new gentleness born of self-compassion. The equation began to hum, and her life confidence building as she grew, contributions flowing naturally, all amplified by that inner knowing. As weeks unfolded, Doris delved deeper, uncovering the next layer, the exhaustion of hiding who you truly are, and the freedom in stepping forward unmasked. The book painted it vividly, not as a grand reveal, but as daily choices to let your unique light flicker without apology. Hiding, it explained, is like dimming your flame to fit a lantern that's too small. It starves the soul, disconnects you from the very connections you crave. Doris knew this ache intimately. In team meetings, she'd shrink her ideas to match the room's rhythm, her voice softening like mist over the lake. Even with Taylor, confident though she was, Doris held back the raw edges, her fears of the cafe failing, the vulnerability of pouring her heart into a space that might empty out. One evening, after a particularly draining day where Hargrove had glossed over her input in favor of louder voices, Doris wandered to Gasworks Park. The sun dipped low, casting golden threads across the old gasification tanks, their rusted frames silhouetted against the Olympics. She sat on a weathered bench, the grass damp under her jeans, and opened the book to a passage on authenticity. Embracing your fingerprints, your quirks as the universe's one-of-a-kind offering. The words stirred something, a memory of childhood, baking scones with her grandma in that Tacoma kitchen, flour dusting their aprons like fresh snow, laughter spilling as Doris experimented with wild flavors like rosemary and sea salt. "That's you, Petal," Grandma had said, tasting a lopsided batch. "One of a kind and twice as sweet." Tears pricked Doris's eyes now, the park's wind carrying the faint brine from the bay. Why hide that girl? She journaled under the fading light. "My voice, my dreams, they're mine to share, not shrink." The shift rippled into her world the very next day. In a client call from the office's rooftop, terrace where the city sprawled below like a living map, ferries cutting white paths through the sound, Doris faced a curveball. The client pushed back on her authentic angle for the campaign, calling it too niche. Her heart raced, palms slick against the phone, but instead of folding, she leaned in. What if we lean into that niche? It's Seattle real stories from the heart of it, like the family-owned stalls at Pike Place. That's what connects. Silence stretched, broken by the client's chuckle. "You know, that's fresh. Let's try it." Riley, dialing in from home, texted under the table. "Boss move." Doris hung up, exhaling into the breeze that tugged at her scarf, feeling exposed yet alive, like shedding a coat that's grown too tight. This authenticity wove into her evenings with Taylor, too. Over takeout pho from a spot in the International District, the broth, steaming with star anise and cilantro, chopsticks clinking against bowls, Doris finally unburdened the cafe vision in full. Not the polished version, but the messy one. Fears of empty tables on rainy days, the ache of investing savings into something so personal. Taylor listened, slurping noodles with unhurried ease, her tattooed hand steady on the table. "Dor, that's not mess, that's heart. And hearts like yours, they draw people in." They brainstormed late into the night, sketching logos on napkins stained with sriracha, laughter bubbling as Doris voiced wild ideas, poetry slams on slow Tuesdays, community swaps for baked goods. For the first time, vulnerability felt like invitation, not risk. Even family calls transformed. On a Sunday bridge game via Zoom, Elena's kids waving sticky fingers at the screen, their Portland backyard alive with maple leaves. Doris shared her promotion not as armor, but as a step. "It's good, but the real pull is this cafe idea." "Scary as hell." Elena's face softened across the pixels. "Sis, you've always had that quiet fire. Show us more of it." The conversation flowed deeper, Elena admitting her own freelance doubts, sisterhood bridging the miles like the I-5 corridor at dusk. Month by month, Doris's authentic self emerged like the city after a downpour cleaner, brighter. She swapped muted outfits for scarves in bold ochre, mirroring her inner hues. At work, her pitches carried the cadence of her true rhythm, slow and deliberate, drawing Hargrove to linger after meetings. "You've got something different now, Doris. Keep it." The hiding had cost her energy, joy. Now each unveiled layer multiplied her connections, her quiet power. Yet authenticity often meets resistance, and Doris's next lesson arrived wrapped in the sting of rejection, not as a wall, but as a wise guide steering her true north. The book reframed it tenderly. Rejection isn't a verdict on your value. It's redirection, a gentle hand from the universe protecting you from paths not meant for your feet. Like a ferry rerouted by tides, it keeps you safe for the right harbor. This truth landed amid a whirlwind week. Doris had poured her soul into applying for a creative director role at a rival firm one, with a focus on social impact brands, a bridge to her cafe dreams. Late nights blurred into dawn, her apartment lit by the blue glow of her laptop, fueled by mugs of yerba mate that left earthy traces on her tongue. She tailored her resume with stories of community campaigns, rehearsed interviews in the mirror, her reflection framed by the rain-streaked window. The callback came a virtual panel with execs, whose bios screamed polish and pedigree. The interview unfolded in her living room, sunlight slanting through half-drawn blinds onto the wool rug from a Ballard flea market. Questions flowed. Strengths, visions. Doris spoke from the heart, weaving in her love for Seattle's underbelly, the hidden murals in Sodu, the resilient voices at food banks. But the final email arrived 2 days later, crisp and curt. "Thank you for your interest. We've selected another candidate whose experience aligns more closely." The words blurred as she read them on the light rail, the car's sway mirroring her gut's churn. Not enough. Again. She texted Riley, fingers flying, bombed the interview. "Universe hates me." His reply pinged back. "Or loves you too much to let you settle." "Beers tonight?" They met at a dive in Belltown, the air hazy with fry oil, and the low thrum of a jukebox crooning Tom Waits. Riley slid over a pint of local IPA, foam clinging to the glass like sea mist. "Walk me through it." Doris spilled the passion, the prep, the shutdown. He nodded, swirling his drink. "Remember that pitch you reframed last month? Turned rejection into gold. Maybe this is the same." Back home, book in hand, Doris traced the idea. "What if this no spares me a role that stifles my fire? What door is it cracking open instead?" She journaled by candlelight, the flame-dancing shadows on her walls, redirected to my own path, protected for the cafe that sings my song. The wisdom took root in unexpected soil. Days later, at a networking mixer in a waterfront loft, the harbor lights, twinkling like fireflies, clinking glasses echoing off exposed beams, Doris bumped into an old classmate, now running a small business incubator. Over charcuterie boards scented with fig jam and rosemary, she shared her cafe vision, unfiltered. "It's about community, not just coffee spaces for stories." The woman's eyes lit. "We need more like that." Join our next cohort? What felt like rejection's bruise bloomed into opportunity, a soft pivot toward her dream. This mindset soft even works barbs. When Hargrove nixed her latest idea in a team sync, too risky, Doris, she breathed through the sting, later pulling Riley aside in the stairwell, its concrete steps echoing their footsteps. "Feels like a sign to tweak it for us, not force it," he grinned. Universe's GPS. Together, they reworked it into something fiercer, landing client raves. Rejection, once a thief of momentum, became Doris's compass each no, a nudge toward yeses that fit her soul. Layer by layer, the book peeled back the veils of old stories, urging, Doris to question the labels society and she herself had pinned on her heart. These weren't truths, but tales spun from fears. Not pretty enough, not bold enough, not ready. The guidance was clear. Labels are human inventions, fragile as fog. They can be seen, felt, and rewritten with intention, freeing you to step into a narrative of possibility. Doris's labels had roots deep in Tacoma soil. High school mirrors had whispered average amid cheerleader giggles. Corporate ladders echoed imposter and boardroom silences. One foggy morning, as she rode the light rail past the sleeping waterfront, coffee cup warming her gloves, she revisited a label that clung like damp wool. I'm too cautious to chase dreams. It stemmed from a college flop, a failed event planning club, whispers of over her head lingering like bad aftertaste. The book invited her to unpack it. What does this label cost me? A life half-lived? In her journal that evening, under the hum of her radiator clanking like an old friend's heartbeat, she listed the toll. Stalled cafe sketches gathering dust, evenings scrolling instead of creating. Rewriting began with a walk in Discovery Park, where trails wound through sword ferns and cedars, the sound's rhythm a steady undertow. Doris paused at the lighthouse, its beam cutting through mist, and voiced a new label aloud, her breath visible in the chill. I am bold in quiet ways, building step by steady step. The words felt awkward at first, like new boots on uneven ground, but she repeated them, letting the waves carry the old echo away. Back at work, the shift stirred. During a feedback session with Hargrove, his desk cluttered with Seattle Mariners, mugs and spreadsheets, she owned a past mistake on a deadline. I see where I held back, labeled myself unreliable. But I'm learning to trust my pace. He blinked, then softened. Growth mindset. I like it. Riley, overhearing in the hall, FIST bumped her later. Label boss. The transformation deepened over a family visit. Elena drove up for a weekend, the sisters hiking Rattlesnake Ledge, boots crunching gravel, the vista unfolding like a promise evergreens, framing the snowy peaks. Over trail mix scented with cherries and nuts, Doris admitted the old label, the reliable one, never the dreamer. Elena stopped, pack straps digging into her shoulders. Dor, you planned my wedding playlist? That's dreaming. They sat on a log, wind whispering through pines, and Doris rewrote aloud, I am the weaver of dreams, for myself and others. Tears mixed with laughter as Elena hugged her, the label dissolving like mist in sun. With Taylor, it played out in creation. At a pottery class in Georgetown, the studio's air clay damp and wheel humming. Doris molded mugs, her hands slick with slip, the old not artistic enough taunting as her first bowl wobbled. Taylor, across the table, shaping a vase like a twisted tree, caught her eye. Own it, flaws and all. Doris breathed, whispering her new label. My hands create beauty in imperfection. The mug emerged lopsided, but her craggy edges holding space for warmth. It became her prototype, perched on her kitchen sill, catching morning light. These rewrites weren't erasers, but invitations, turning Doris's inner script from cautionary tale to epic unfolding. Labels once chains became threads in a tapestry, her cafe vision gaining color. Menus with stories behind each blend, walls for guest sketches. She shared one rewritten line with Riley over lunch at a food truck pod, the sizzle of falafel mingling with harbor horns. I'm worthy of bold creation. His nod was steady, and damn good at it. Surrounding yourself with the right voices isn't about building a fortress. It's curating a garden where your worth can bloom unchecked. The book spoke of circles versus cages. Choose souls who water your growth, not those who prune your light. Boundaries aren't walls. They're the soil that lets roots deepen. Doris's circle had always been wide, but shallow acquaintances from happy hours, family ties frayed by distance. Taylor was the anchor, but work? Hargrove's critiques landed heavy. Colleagues gossiped like gulls over scraps. One afternoon, post-pitch triumph, Doris invited Riley and a few others to her apartment for a casual potluck. The space alive with the scent of slow-cooked chili simmering on the stove, cornbread baking golden in the oven. Laughter filled the rooms as they sprawled on floor pillows, rain pattering approval. But when a co-worker, Lena, quipped, "Cute place, but can you really lead with all these artsy distractions?" The air thinned. Doris felt the cage snap shut, old labels stirring. Later, book in lap, she reflected. Who elevates? Who drains? Journaling by the window, city lights blurring below, she mapped her circle. Taylor in. Riley his easy encouragement, a balm. Hargrove professional respect, but boundaries needed. Lena polite distance. The curation began gently. She started with Taylor, deepening their ritual. Weekly walks along the Burke-Gilman Trail. Bikes locked nearby, the canal's water lapping as they unpacked dreams. Your calf make it a no-judgment zone. Like us, Taylor said, leaves crunching underfoot. Doris nodded, feeling seen. At work, boundaries took shape like fog lifting. In a one-on-one, Hargrove steamrolled her input. Doris paused, heart steady. I value your guidance, but let's build on my ideas to team. Strength. His, surprise soft to alliance. With Riley, she fostered depth. Coffee debriefs at a hidden roastery in Capitol Hill. Beans grinding fresh, their talks shifting from surface to soul. You're the spark in these meetings, he admitted once, steam rising between them. Don't dim it. Family wove in too. During Elena's next call, with kids' chatter in the background like distant waves, Doris set a soft edge. Love hearing about you, but share space for me too. Elena laughed, relieved. Fair. Tell me about that mug you made. The circle tightened, protective yet open. Curation rippled outward. Doris joined a women's entrepreneur group at a co-working space in South Lake Union, views of glass towers and the monorail zipping by. There, amid potted succulents and whiteboards scrawled with visions, she met Alex, a mentor figure with silver-streaked hair and a laugh like wind chimes. Alex's cafe in Ballard had weathered recessions through community ties. Over matcha latte's frothy green, scented with citrus zest, Alex listened to Doris's fears. Curate voices that mirror your worth back. Mine saved me. Their mentorship bloomed. Monthly check-ins, Alex's notes on business plans infused with encouragement. This garden of souls transformed Doris's soil from barren to fertile. Ideas flowed freer. Doubts wilted under collective light. One evening, hosting Taylor, Riley, and Alex for a trial cafe menu, lavender shortbread, crumbling sweet on plates. Herbal teas steeping in sunlight, she felt it. Not alone in creation, but held. To circles that lift, Alex toasted, glasses clinking like rain on leaves. Words shape worlds. The book reminded Doris negative self-talk, like weeds choking the garden. But with awareness, they can be uprooted, replaced with seeds of belief. It's not silencing the inner critic, but redirecting its energy, one thought at a time, through practices that rewired the mind's quiet pathways. Doris's critic was a constant companion, a low hum like the light rail's distant rumble. Who do you think you are? It peaked during a solo hike up Green Lake, path crunching with fallen needles, water lapping at the shore as she rehearsed a networking pitch. Doubts cascaded. They'll see through you. Breath ragged, she sat on a bench, loons calling overhead, and opened the book to techniques for transformation. Notice the thought, question its truth, replace with compassion like interrupting a rude guest at your own table. She started with mirror work, mornings in her bathroom, steam from the shower clinging to tiles scented with eucalyptus soap. Staring at her reflection, freckles like constellations, Eyes tired but kind, she'd say. You're trying, and that's brave. At first it felt forced, words bouncing off the fogged glass. But persistence softened it. One day, post-run flush on her cheeks, she added, I see you, and I like who I am. The critic paused, just a beat. This wove into daily scenes. At work, during a tense email, Jane Hargrove's red flags, dotting her draft like warning buoys. The voice snarled, idiot. Doris stepped away, brewed a ginger tea in the kitchenette, its spice warming her throat, and reframed, I'm learning. This is progress. She hit send on a revised version, heart lighter. Riley's reply nailed it. Growth glow. With Taylor, vulnerability tested it. Over brunch at a Queen Anne spot avocado toast, drizzled with chili oil, the park's cherry blossoms, drifting past windows, Doris admitted a slip, snapping at a barista during a stressful week. Critic called me ungrateful. Taylor squeezed her hand across the checkered cloth. Reframe, human and owning it, Doris journaled later, under her desk lamp's amber glow. I am kind, even in stumbles. The deepest practice came with Alex. During a mentorship walk along Alki Beach, waves whispering secrets to the pebbles, salt air tangling her hair. Self-talk's my anchor, Alex shared, pausing to skip a stone. Doris confessed a cafe fear. Not visionary enough? Alex nodded. Catch it. What's the evidence against? They brainstormed affirmations mid-stride. My vision is unique, unfolding perfectly. By sunset, gulls wheeling gold. Doris felt the shift thoughts, less thorns, more guides. Even family moments healed. On a video call with Elena, kids napping in the background, Doris caught the critic mid-sentence. You're boring them. She paused, smiled. Actually, I'm sharing my light, Elena beamed, and it's beautiful. Over time, the transformation quieted the storm. Doris's inner dialogue turned companion from not enough to just right. In quiet moments, like steeping tea leaves watching them unfurl, she'd affirm, I speak to myself as a dear friend. The cafe sketches grew bolder, infused with self-belief's steady hand. Faith, the book revealed, isn't a distant force, but an intimate knowing that your worth is etched by a greater design, not dimmed by doubts. It's trusting the Creator's blueprint over the mind's smudges, asking in low moments, whom am I truly doubting? Doris, raised in a home of quiet spirituality, Sunday drives to lakeside chapels, the chime of bells mingling with pine-scented air, had let faith fade amid city noise. But as autumn deepened, leaves carpeting Seattle streets in crimson, she sought reconnection. A solo retreat to a cabin near Snoqualmie. Falls called her the roar of water, a thunderous prayer, mist veiling the evergreens like holy incense. There, by a stone fireplace crackling with alder wood, its smoke curling sweet, Doris meditated as the book suggested. Eyes closed, breath sinking with the fall's rhythm. Doubts surfaced, calf fears, work woes like shadows on the wall. Am I doubting myself, or the one who made me? Tears came, hot on her cheeks, releasing years of self-judgment. She journaled flameside. My worth is divine, woven before my first breath. This trust filtered into life. During a storm-lashed commute, light rail swaying, a delayed project triggered panic. Doris closed her eyes, hand on her heart. Trust the design. Peace settled, like calm after thunder. At the office, she approached Hargrove calmly. Let's pivot, this feels guided. His buy-in followed, seamless. With Taylor, faith sparked deeper bonds. Over evensong at a Fremont chapel, candles flickering, voices harmonizing like waves, Doris shared her retreat. It's like the falls, powerful, even in chaos. Taylor, usually skeptical, soft. Show me more. Their walks now included pauses for gratitude, hands clasped, city hum fading. Riley noticed, too, over arcade games in a Pike Place, basement bar neon pings and popcorn butter in the air. Your lighter? Secret? Doris smiled, believing I'm held. Even Elena, during a Thanksgiving video feast, turkey aromas, imagined across screens joined, a shared prayer, voices blending like family recipe. This spiritual anchor steadied Doris's arc, turning doubts to devotion. The cafe dream felt ordained, not orphaned, each step a sacred unfolding. Growth, the guidance assured, is no straight path but a spiral dance, messy, incremental, like a caterpillar's quiet alchemy into wing. Embrace the in-between, celebrate the subtle shifts, for transformation whispers, not shouts. Doris felt this in the cafe's slow birth. Months in, her business plan sprawled across her dining table, papers weighted by mugs, scented with ink and midnight oil. A rejected grant application stung, but she saw the spiral, not stuck coiling higher. With Alex's input, revisions flowed, each draft a cocoon layer. At work, a botched presentation slides glitching under. Hargrove's gaze once crushed her. Now, post-meet, she reflected in the stairwell, echoes soft. Lesson learned, wings strengthened. Riley's debrief over Taco's lime zing, cutting the air, turned it to fuel. With Taylor, vulnerability looped. A failed pop-up bake sale, scones too dense from nerves. Laughing over wine-tart berries bursting, Taylor said, "Spiral up, baker," Doris did, tweaking recipes in her kitchen, flour dusting like fairy dust. Family wove the thread. Elena's visit brought a hike to Twin Falls, mist-shrouded bridges creaking. "Feel the turn?" Doris asked, pointing to the river's bend. Elena hugged. Like us, this embrace made Doris's journey fluid, setbacks, not ends, but curves leading home. The cafe, once distant, neared, a leased spot in Fremont, walls echoing with potential. Development, not dazzle, builds lasting light. The book urged focusing inward first, honing skills before the spotlight, letting determination dress as destiny. Doris heeded this as her cafe launch loomed. Instead of rushing pop-ups, she dove deep, baking classes with Alex, dough kneading rhythmic under flour-dusted hands, scents of vanilla and yeast filling the incubator kitchen. Master the craft, Alex coached, oven's warmth mirroring inner fire. At work, she sought training, digital strategy workshops in a so-do loft, screens glowing amid craft brews. Hargrove noted, "You're sharpening." Riley joined one, their notes scribbled over IPAs, camaraderie deepening. With Taylor, it was hands-on, menu tastings in her apartment, herbs from window pots infusing broths. "Develop the taste," Taylor teased, spoons clinking. Even Faith fueled at quiet studies, books on sustainable business stacked by her bed, pages turned by lamplight. This inward forge made Doris's light, sustainable skills solid, ready for shine. Finally, worthiness unconditional, no strings, no scales a birthright, embraced fully, transforming all. Doris claimed it fully one dawn on her fire escape, city stirring below, first light gilding the rail tracks. "I am worthy, period." The cafe opened that spring, Haven Brew, cozy with exposed beams, mugs steaming stories. Taylor barista had opening day. Riley DJ'd soft jazz. Alex mentored ops. Elena flew up with kids for ribbon cut. Crowds came, rain or blow, neighbors sharing tailies over lattes, the air alive with connection. Doris, apron tied, felt whole, concepts woven into life, doubts dissolved. Friends, Doris's path reminds us, worth isn't won, but welcomed. What label might you rewrite today? Whose circle calls for tending? In your quiet moments, what if you simply breathed, "I am enough"? Take care, friends, walk gently into your light. Until next time.